everybody, and welcome back to another round of Modern Melee. In the booth, as usual, Marco and Ginko.
Like, share, and subscribe.
This
Hello.
is extremely ominous. Today we have for you Esper Food versus Affinity. Esper Food on your left, Affinity on your right. Let's see how this match unfolds. This is an unusual one. This is just artifacts left or right, literally, in this case.
Yeah, one Hercules recall and both players will drop a tier.
Yeah, or just scoop every permanent up because there is probably also some artifact lands on both sides. Who knows what is there to have. We see a Giganta on the left side from Esper Food. This just means it's free to play.
Exactly.
And one oddity, Urza Saga on turn 1.
So the food player really wants his food as early as possible, or rather food book.
Yeah, food book. The Underworld Cookbook will probably get named and tutored up with the saga, regardless of the fact that it cannot produce any of the constructs because it will die before it gets to the third mana.
I didn't see. Did the food player miss the Mishra's Bauble?
No, they drew.
They drew. Okay.
Yeah. And they right now paid for the Esper Sentinel tax. 2 more Baubles and a fetch. We will see what this entails. Maybe something like an Emry to just perpetuate their plan and mill a little bit of the graveyard, because the graveyard is also a little bit important in this matchup, mainly for discarding the Ovalchase Daredevil. And we actually see Emry milling Unearth, another cookbook, and a land.
How did they play Emry? Didn't they pay 1 mana for the Esper Sentinel?
Yeah, for the first Mishra's Bauble. And then the Emry is 1 cheaper for each artifact.
Right. I'm not very knowledgeable about the deck. I find the deck very, very cool.
Very cool and confusing.
Yeah, I will ask some questions about the deck throughout this matchup.
Yeah, so I'm a really big fan about the Esper Food deck, and the deck is, I would say, confusing at the best and probably tedious at worst. It can win out of nowhere, but it can also fold onto itself.
Yeah.
But as far as interesting deck choices go, this is definitely one of them.
Definitely one of the more interesting decks in the meta, and a very powerful one for really not so much money.
Yeah, this is also a concern, definitely. I do believe that the mana base is the most expensive thing here. That being said, there are 4 Urza Saga in this one. So this is definitely something to consider. But apart from that, which is a big part, but there is no Ragavan, there is nothing else, but only foods and Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdicar and other fancy naming cards. Now, we see, on the other hand, Esper Sentinel being joined by a Springleaf Drum, just a tap land in form of one of those artifact lands we have been talking about, hitting the battlefield. 1 mana up from the Affinity player. That is okay. This Affinity lists usually go off at turn 3 or something like it. So 1 mana being floated from the Urza Saga here. Underworld Cookbook fetched. This 1 mana will probably be spent by Emry to return, well, another cookbook. So, yes, and 1 mana being paid for the Sentinel tax. So no additional cards for the Affinity player. Now we see a discard of Ovalchase Daredevil. This has several triggers. One is to create a food. Whenever a food gets created, it is an artifact, so the Ovalchase Daredevil gets back to the hand.
It's a cute little loop. It's not an infinite loop. It's not a win-con loop, but it's a loop to gain you resources.
Yes.
So it's cool.
This game is called Hey Kids, do you want to make game objects and game actions? Because if you do, this deck is for you.
Yeah, definitely. You will need a lot of dice to count up your stuff when you start going off. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, so what happened here is Asmo hitting the battlefield, tutoring up another cookbook, and the two food being used to punch the Esper Sentinel with his own fist in the hand, because Asmo says the creature deals damage to itself. So
Yes.
stop hitting yourself. Deck.
Yes, notably if the creature has protection from the color of itself,
It cannot do that.
it cannot do that.
Yes. But also, if it has lifelink, the life will also be gained.
Exactly.
But this is also important because we are reducing the number of artifacts for the actual affinity cards. And one of the cards that is not an artifact, but it can definitely grow to immense proportions, is just now hitting the battlefield. This is Ingenious Smith.
Artificer.
Yes. And it will, from the top 4, tutor up an artifact to its owner's hand. Now, bear in mind, this can also mean an artifact land. So this is a great way to get out of maybe some mana pinches if you have them.
Ingenious Smith is a scary card. Whenever you play Artifact for the first time, each turn, It grows. So it can get scary real fast. There is a portable hole saying your Asmo is in the hole now.
Yeah.
And of course, since it was an artifact, right? The Ingenious Smith grew.
Yes, and this is true for your and your opponent's turn. So maybe also twice a turn it can grow. It is definitely limited in this manner, but definitely can grow out of proportions. Now we see an interesting thing, and this is the discarding of the Academy Manufactor.
To unearth it.
We know there is one Ovalchase Daredevil in the hand, but this will create not only a food token, but also food clue and treasure token instead. And with 2 cookbooks in hand, this will get out of hand. Quickly.
Yes, now a lot of game objects are being created, and while they are being created, we can ask all of you to like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and we really appreciate if you give us any form of feedback. We like doing this, and we hope you enjoy our videos as much as we like to comment on them. Exactly. Okay. With that, the game objects are created.
But wait, there is more.
But there is another cookbook coming, and can it be played?
Yes, it can. So
yes, there are treasures.
One treasure was cracked to play Asmo, and the second one to play the cookbook. And now the only thing in hand is the returning Ovalchase Daredevil. But we see 4 food, which will be gobbled up by Asmo to kill the Ingenious Smith and probably every other creature that dares to defy the battlefield with their presence. I'm terrible. Sorry, I get carried away.
Yeah, it does seem that you like this deck very much.
But you can see how this deck can get out of hand with the amount of triggers, the amount of stuff just going on, and the amount of things that need to be kept in consideration. Well,
it's true. It's interesting that because it doesn't kill you with a lot of firepower or I don't know, a lot of land triggers or something like that. It just scratches you until you're dead.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I do believe this is the biggest that constructs of the Urza Saga can get in Modern, because they can just be 2020s or whatever, pick a number.
Yes, exactly. And it's great when you have the strong Urza Sagas. I played once against this deck online, and I didn't know exactly what he was doing, so I was interesting to just let him do all his triggers, and he hated me, but I was learning. And he had the infinite loop with Time Sieve. You have infinite time loop, turn loops with Time Sieve in this deck. He had it, but he also had only Academy Manufacturer on the board, and he just killed me. Yeah.
This is how it usually goes. So when you take infinite turns, you will find a way to win.
Yeah,
and the win conditions are overrated in Modern because, well, if you have infinite turns, you will win. If you have, infinite hand size with counter spells and everything, you will probably win with something. And on the other hand, Affinity does Affinity stuff. And we have seen two of the... How is this card called?
Which one?
The Thought Monitor. The Thought Monitors, yes. Being played one after the other, drawing cards, and being a 2/2 flyer for just 1 mana, which is totally fair.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's
definitely
card.
A great card, especially a good design because you actually need to work for your 2 mana, 1 mana 2/2 flyer who draws you 2 cards. There is another portable hole. Probably getting rid of Osmo, but before that, Osmo has a thing for feasting and will probably kill another creature. Yeah, let's get rid of this Thought Monitor before it goes to the portable hole. Oh, and this might be a problem, but I do not believe there is a mana open.
No, there is not a mana open, which is great news for the food player because... The
relic cannot be activated to exile the graveyard. But also, there we see some considerations to either get the saga going or not. We will see what the player decides. There is still the draw step, yes, to be considered, and now the 3rd chapter is on the stack. Cracking of treasure, making a construct. This construct is large and in charge, and maybe this is a turn where you... Oh no, the Shadow Spear is on the battlefield.
On the battlefield, so, exactly.
Yeah. This construct being just a 20/20 or whatever will probably punch through if there is no such similar construct on the other side from the Affinity player. And an interesting choice to get a Springleaf Drum, just a little bit more mana.
Yes, a bit more mana, and I can't imagine there is a better card since there is 4 cookbooks and the Shadow Spear already on the board.
Definitely, and not only that, but there is only 1 land now, 2 on the battlefield for the cookbook player. 4 times, just shortcutting. You are tapped down, and I have 4 food, 4 clue, 4 treasure, and let's go from here, I guess.
So to equip the Shadow Spear, 1 treasure must be cracked along with the mana, and that makes the construct then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
But wait, there is more. There is also an Emry activation.
Oh, right.
So we'll see if this plays a role. So tap the manufacturer, tap another mana, crack. Clue, yes, because we have a lot of treasures and everything else. Maybe we find that Time Sieve and just go infinite this turn. So another 2 treasures cracked. Maybe, no, 1 treasure, Emry, just to mill a little bit of cards. Yeah, there we see a Time Sieve, and this can be recurred with the Emry. This is the point of just branching of stuff and that you have to take into considerations. They're saying probably you're tapped out, I will return this with Emry, crack my 2 treasures, get this thing back. I have food for days, clues for days, treasures for days. I will sacrifice 5 artifacts and take an extra turn after this one and do this for the rest of the game. Can we go to game 2 now? Yes.
The Affinity player seems to be stumped, to be honest.
This is a common response because, I mean, to be fair, the loop is a little bit tricky to both to explain and to, as you have said, to do, because there is a lot of moving pieces, and you need to take into considerations how many treasures can you make, how many everything, and what is the win condition. But as we said, once you have infinite turns, you will probably find your win condition somehow. And if nothing else, there is a win condition in your sideboard that is Giganta, that we see right here on the screen below the number 15.
Indeed. There is a Giganta. What does it mean if you play Giganta? Are there some restrictions that you need to adhere to if you want to play Giganta? I don't know if all food decks play Giganta. If not,
most of them. You lose a little bit on the sideboard plan, and also depending on what build of food you are on. For example, if you're splashing red, then you lose much more with Giganta in the sideboard than when you're pure Esper. But as far as I believe, you are good with Giganta as your companion in the Esper package, because the only thing that you might consider is something like a Doughty Voidwalker that is two black, or something like Necromancia that is also two black. I don't believe there is a two blue pips card. Yeah, you might also consider something like Whir of Invention or something like it that has improvise and that can get your artifacts from your deck. But this is a secondary option, I do believe.
I see. Interesting. Okay, so sideboard plan. Is there any specific cards that Affinity wants to bring in, Food wants to bring in? I don't feel like any of these decks have some hard sideboard cards against each other.
Yeah, so both of them want to bring in Hercules Recall that only targets the other player. But while that is not the case, I do believe that some of the removal spells can be upgraded from the Affinity side. We have seen Portable Holes do good job, but not great job, because they cannot touch either the Manufactor or the Emry or anything else that is more than 3 mana. And probably Time Sieve will only be on the battlefield at the time when it will go infinite. So this is also a consideration to take into account. But apart from that, there is probably... Oh yes, definitely there are counter spells from the Affinity side, that also have improvised. They will be probably coming in. Maybe the Affinity player goes a little bit bigger with the Fairy Time Revelers in the sideboard. And also a thing to consider is that they do not use their graveyard. So something like Rest in Peace is also possible.
Fine choice.
Yes, but it is not an artifact. So I do believe they prefer... artifact
like
Soul Guide, Relic of Progenitus, Soul Guide, Lantern and such, and we have seen those in game one because they can also be tutored up with Saga.
Exactly. So yes, we already seen Relic of Progenitus main boarded for the Affinity player. I do believe there might be some other graveyard hate in the sideboard, but I don't think it's the deck that has particularly strong hate against graveyard decks in sideboard. I feel like it's the deck that goes wide, goes fast, and if it doesn't, it just loses. So as you said, I think counter spells are definitely the right choice in a matchup like this, and perhaps a bit more removal for the board. So
we see here probably a judge call or something else. Both players have left the playing field, but I assure you they will be back soon. In the meantime, we can talk about the sideboard from the Esper Food side, because this also is an interesting one. There are 4 Thoughtseizes in the sideboard of this one, interestingly in the sideboard. because this is a card that you don't want in your main deck, but you want to have access to in your matchups where the opponent is likely to either go wider, taller, or faster than you in a combo sense, not in a burn sense.
Interesting. Of course, Toss is an interesting card, and Esper Food really just wants cards in the main board that go along his mission.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Toss is a great card, but it doesn't go along his mission.
Yeah, this is a utility card, and there is not much flex slots left into the Esper Food, as we have seen. There are a lot of moving pieces, but all of the moving pieces work together, one with the other. So Osmo with Cookbook with Osmo, but also together with Ovalchase Daredevil, together with Emry, together with the Manufactor. And this is one of the strengths and weaknesses of the food deck, is having such there is a lot of pieces needed to make this deck function in order to combo off.
Yeah.
But all of the pieces are interchangeable. So you do not need 4 cookbooks. You need only 2 cookbooks, but you need also a manufacturer. Or you need something like Emry plus your cookbooks plus something else. Or you need some third combination that it's escaping me right now. But all of the things combined do a good deck. Now, there are absolutely ways to shut this deck down. One of them is Rest in Peace, that will slow it down immensely. The other one is just something like Stony Silence. This is why the white splash comes from the sideboard and is mandatory in this sense. So there are no counter spells, but there is prismatic endings, there is also portable holes or March of Otherworldly Light. Either way works, but you want to just get rid of the hate, be it in the form of something like the Pithing Needle or in the form of Relic of Progenitors, Rest in Peace, Stony Silence. Those are all artifacts, enchantments that do the deck dirty. And we see one of the portable holes being left here. Emry discarded to the cookbook, food made just for having it for later. Might as well stash it up.
It's an interesting trend that is happening lately in the Magic modern meta. A lot of decks are splashing white for the reasons that you named.
Yeah, exactly. So white is the best utility color, but it is far the worst main color in any deck. Even with the printing of Leyline Binding, which is in of itself an answer.
Yes, exactly.
All of the white splashes are great answers, and all of the white cards are great answers. There is no good white beater card, proactive card. I can't imagine one. If you have something, or if you, dear viewer, have some white proactive card that you would like to have in your deck, please do write us a comment.
I mean, everything you said I agree with. There is an exception to the rule that you described, and that's, of course, Hammer Time.
Yeah, so, but also,
there's no white proactive card. That's true.
The only white proactive card in the Hammer Time deck is probably Cigar de Sade, and this was also envisioned probably more as a defensive card where you can flash your equipment at instant speed and say, haha, I got you, and countered your lightning bolt by having more than 3 toughness. But, you know, when the 3 toughness becomes 10 power, then there is a lot of equity gained by just attacking with your own ornithopters. Sorry. On the other side, I do believe this is a Pithing Needle after the Ingenious Smith, maybe naming Emry, which would be a fine choice. And this is one of the problems with the deck. So we have seen a portable hole, then a Pithing Needle, Relic of Progenitors maybe coming from the Urza Saga on the Affinity side. So all of these pesky little permanents that need to be answered in order to for the Esper Food to function fully. Now, this is not to say that it cannot function through those permanents, but definitely without them it's smooth sailing.
Yeah, it can win, it can function, but at this point it's a race, and you don't want to really race the affinity deck.
Oh yeah, definitely not at all. It can go both wider and taller than probably any deck in the format. Both with Ingenious Smith growing, with Urza Saga tokens being massive, and with just a board full of pesky tiny creatures,
Yeah.
be it 2/2 flyers or 0/2 flyers.
Indeed. So this game definitely doesn't look great for the food deck. It's quickly going. Oh, and there is an Urza as well.
There is a Urza Lord, High Artificer, and I am contractually obliged to say it like this every time. And this spells real trouble for any opponent on the other side,
Yes.
because each and every one of those pesky artifacts is a Lotus Petal that stays, so mocks Opal.
Exactly.
And not only that, but when you have Thoughtcast and Thought Monitors that you can chain one into the other, then the deck starts humming on all cylinders. And it's extremely hard to get to defeat it without any help.
So, is there a way out for the food player right now?
I will say that always is.
Okay.
I do not know what it is right now, because, as I said, there is a lot of moving pieces, but something like End Step Tainted Indulgence can get you far. Draw 2 cards and see what your options are.
Or perhaps...
Now, maybe this will be countered.
Yeah,
Spell
it's
Pierce.
Spell Pierce.
Okay, no problem. This was also maybe a bait card to test the waters, because it is powerful, but also not necessary. Because the real power comes from the Urza Saga and the tutors that is on the stack.
Yes, so Saga is on 3. There is a decision to be made here. Do you add a mana to your mana pool, or do you create a construct or a chump blocker for that very scary board on the other side? It's not easy. I think I saw a construct, an Academy Manufactor in the hand. So there are definitely prospects for the food player to win if he survives perhaps 2 to 3 more turns.
Now, I do believe that there was a trigger missed from the Urza Saga. Partially missed, so this cannot be because the first trigger was done. So the trigger, the set on 3 was acknowledged, made a construct, and then Urza Saga, they are now just remedying this. So the Urza Saga went to the graveyard without tutoring
anything,
and now they are remedying this. For you viewing at home, we have casual Ariel going on in the tournament. So takes his backs is like this. This is not actually takes his backs. This is just mistrigger, and nothing much was done. I do believe even on a competitive scale this would be allowed. But we can continue with the turn of the Jesus. The other player, there was also a Saga trigger. Probably this one reminded the first one, hey, I need to tutor something. But Relic of Progenitus on the battlefield, and now the real fun begins, because Urza is active, all of the mana in the world, a lot of artifacts, and another artifact, Ingenious Smith grows, and this might be the last turn of the game.
This might be very well the last turn of the game. It doesn't look good for the food player. Though he is not dead on the board, I don't think.
Well, this construct is a lot.
It's a lot.
Oh, but we're spinning Urza.
He's not attacking, which might be a mistake.
Yeah, I do believe you just want the opponent dead. There might be a chump block from Emry because it's not doing much because of the pitting needle, but doesn't matter. And we see the Urza spin hitting another Ingenious Smith, who might find another artifact and perpetuate all of this again and again.
I also think that perhaps the smarter choice would be to find Shadow Spear with such
Such a large construct and just
construct.
just go ham, because what this construct is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, probably a 9 9, with the equip of the Shadow Spear a 10 10. So 2 attacks get you, or if you have additional artifacts, which you probably do because you're an artifact based deck, you'll get this to 15 15 and just close the game in one shot.
I think there was definitely a missed little here, because there are two constructs that are large. There is Ingenious Smith and there is an Urza. They can all attack. So,
Well, maybe this was pre-combat and this was a construct from the Urza Saga.
Perhaps,
Because all of those artifacts can tap for mana, so I didn't quite get it. But yeah, this is the game and match. The next turn it will be a chump blocker, and probably little one at that, because there are 2 Ingenious Smiths that can grow out, and Urza and all of the artifacts, and this is 1/1. In the third game, we see some light sideboarding, maybe play draw considerations from both decks, maybe some cards being missed or misplaced, and re-evaluated for the sideboard games.
That's definitely interesting. So the food player perhaps wants to go back to the stock list. I'm playing first. I want the fastest, the most efficient that I can, and just you outvalue the
probably
the
just
player.
get it done fast, get it done dirty, and leave the other player in the dust. As we have said in the beginning, the affinity player does need 2 or 3 turns of setup before they can do what they have done here.
Yes.
And even then, with a little bit of disruption, they can be left behind for a turn or 2. And this is all that this deck needs. So a little bit of setup as well for 2 turns from the food side. But we need to have those 2 or 3 turns without disruption. And maybe some re-evaluation of the sideboard, as we said, in terms of removal spells, or I know that, what is the card called? Not the Bone Shards. No, it is Bone Shards.
It is Bone Shard, the one that you need to sacrifice your own creature.
Sacrifice a creature or discard a card, and you can kill anything or any planeswalker, basically.
It's Bone Shards.
Bone Shards, yes. So this is also played in the sideboards, maybe a little bit of consideration. Do I bring this in or out of the side
Interesting.
to the sideboard? Because if you want to be fast, then you can rely on your Asmo to get the killing done with the food.
It's perhaps a better card than Totsis.
I do believe they play both.
Okay, I see.
So one is for the grindy matchups, the other one is for the fast matchups, or the matchups where you, for example, something like Karn the Great Creator shuts down your deck completely, and you need a way to get it killed if it ever hits the battlefield. And one of the easiest ways, just discard your Ovalchase Daredevil. You'll bring it back eventually with any artifact, but kill that pesky Karn, the Great Creator, and move on with the game.
Yeah, exactly. I had some thoughts as well about this matchup now that I'm looking at it. Now that we are in game 3, I should say, it seems like Affinity might be a bad matchup for the food deck.
Yes.
Because, food is quite resilient to removal. It has so much moving pieces that you can't remove everything. It will go off, given enough time. But the Affinity just can slow you down and then outvalue you.
Yes, that is exactly true. And they do have pieces like Pitching Needle and Relic of Progenitus, all of those pesky things that can just throw a wrench into your play. Now, it does not help that the food player mulligans down to 5.
Yeah.
And that the Affinity player kept 7. Now,
or the food player mulligan down.
Yeah. Um, Now, as the trend goes, as we have, I think, stated already, the even the affinity decks went a little bigger than before.
Mm-hmm.
So when the affinity first, the mechanic affinity first was introduced, all of the decks were very lean, very low to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the four ornithopters, four memnites, and other affinity for artifact cards actually in the deck. And as the time went by, people said, okay, all of those zero mana artifacts do not do very much after the first turn. I need
Yes.
something better to do.
Yes.
So, with the printing of artifact lands, as we see here, the bridges, new life was introduced into the affinity, and I do believe from the original 8 zero mana artifacts, only a handful remains, like 2 ornithopters or something like it, and everything else was replaced with a little bigger things. For example, Nettle Sith, for example, Ingenious Smith, or even the Stoneforge Mystic as well. So you can go either tall, big, or resilient, as you mentioned. Now, will this be enough? And we see that the food player kept their 7 and Urza Saga one of them. So if they can leverage the Urza Saga, maybe there is a beatdown plan, but maybe also the 5 card hand it suffices.
Perhaps I don't know how the food deck is with mulliganing. Is it painful for it to mulligan? Is it not? I'm not sure. Yeah,
Oh,
but
and this is a beating. This is a March of Otherworldly Light exiling the saga and the
oh my god.
yeah, and the Relic of Progenitus. Emry coming down for 4 cards, none of them interesting, all of them lands. Luckily, there is a Mishra's Bauble cracked right now to see the top of the deck, and probably this is in the upkeep, so they can draw at their upkeep another card. But this is just devastating. You're down cards already, and your opponent starts with March of Otherworldly Light into Relic of Progenitus. Land destruction for 1 mana. Thoughts on that?
It was since the card was introduced, it was such a painful thing to play against it in decks like Affinity or perhaps Blue White Control. It could be it always is, I should say, very devastating for the Saga player.
Yeah, but there are still ways. For example, the relic was not cracked, and the Mishra's Bubble first value thing that has happened in this game. So maybe there is an out. Second one here, and the manufacturer on the battlefield.
The manufacturer on the battlefield is great. It is susceptible to removal at this point, but
yeah, but we have seen we have seen that the main way of removal from the affinity side is the portable hole. March of Otherworldly Light, I believe, comes from the sideboard. So
it's true.
The majority of this removal suite will not hit the manufacturer. And the other thing is you're so low on cards that you must not mind, and you must play to your outs. Now, this is an important lesson to learn. When you're down cards, you must play to win, not play to not lose.
Exactly, and I think that's great advice for any situation.
Yeah. So the unfortunate thing is that Urza hit the battlefield, and this is a lot of artifacts, and this will be perpetuated by, oh god, this is just a slaughter. This is another Thought Monitor, drawing 2 cards for just 1 mana. This one can be tapped for mana because of Urza, and probably played a Thought Cast, I don't know, whatever, and just perpetuated the suffering a little bit more. So there is copious amounts of mana, copious amounts of artifacts, and there is a giant construct made from Urza.
Notably, There is a way for food deck to win.
Yes, exactly. This is the scariest thing. The food deck can win from this position. So nothing here. One card drawn from the bubble, two cards drawn from the bubble, and one card drawn for the turn. If there is,
Time Sieve land book.
yeah,
That's a win. Time Sieve land book.
even Time Sieve, land, artifact, and the Ovalchase Daredevil is a win.
Perhaps that's a win because with my four cards you don't have anything to discard this turn.
That's fine because we have clues to sack to
Oh
draw
right,
cards.
oh right.
So we see a book. We see two books actually, and I do believe there was a Time Sieve. So who even knows? And the best part is the relic was cracked in response to Emry targeting a bauble.
Oh my
So
god.
this is much closer than it looks. This is a metallic rebuke. That is fine. We have more where this came from. This is an Underworld Cookbook getting discarding prismatic ending. It is too late for this. And this gives us food, clue, and treasure. We are still at 17. Now, the question is, do you play the Time Sieve and get it exposed
to portable
hole?
You do. Do you sack? No, you don't have enough.
No, you do not have enough. But this is it.
It's do or die.
It's do or die, and as we said, you cannot think about if they have anything you lose, so you have to play to win.
Mm-hmm.
The overwhelming advantage is on the side of the affinity player. Oh yeah, and those are two portable holes. Just there was no way out from the beginning. This was a clinic, unfortunately, for the food player, but a great win for the affinity player. So congratulations to the affinity player. They have done a tremendous job showing us how this affinity can just outgrind and outvalue any deck, even as grindy as a food deck is.
Also showed us a great way to draw all the portable holes.
Oh yeah, I do believe they had 4 portable holes.
It's insane.
Yeah, but still, that is all that we have for you. We see a little bit of sideboarding done from the food side and from the affinity side.
There's a Hercules recall.
There is a Hercules recall as well, and some Spell Pierces, March of Otherworldly Light. But there is all that we have for you. Thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you soon.
Like, share, and subscribe.